Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome to the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's show. Because today on the show, you may have guessed it, we have Popzara.com, and more specifically, Mr. Nathan Evans, managing editor of really an impressive group over there that I always enjoy, reading about latest books, games, tech reviews, just a little bit of mishmash of everything that is pop culture. And yeah, we'll have a link to that in the show notes over at computeramerica.com. But by and large, yeah, it's really fun, and I really enjoy these segments because these segments, we talk about headlines, the few and far between. Ladies and gentlemen, really, Nathan is doing you all such a service by bringing a medley of stories, because you don't have to see what's out there by and large. Spoiler alert. Nathan has a very good discerning eye, because he's not clicking on the majority of the junk out there. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and just bring Nathan on and hey, just have fun on this Friday. So once again, he is a longtime Computer America contributor and of course managing editor of Popzara.com. And Nathan, welcome back onto Computer America. How have you been?
Hey Ben, to hear you describe me, you make me sound like an AI bot. Like I am AI bot. I will find stories that interest you.
Look, we have spent so much time here on Computer America training you, perfecting you, refining the model that is, and yes, Nathan is a model, is quite impressive in all regards, physical and otherwise. It's you're better than AI. You're not artificial.
Well, I try to keep my Hitler tendencies to a minimum.
There you go.
So,
you can't say that about all AI models. No, it's
you can't say that about any AI model, really. It's
there
just,
you go.
So
real quick before we get into it, let's I gave just the briefest, poorest overview of course Popzara. Why don't you kind of highlight what kind of articles and what you do with your wonderful writers over there.
Oh, with the wonderful, the bad ones too, No, it's a little bit of this, a little bit like you have a very good introduction. It's a cornucopia of pop culture, so to speak. It's a little bit of games, technology, books, culture, movies, film, Blu-rays, anime, all that kind of stuff. All the stuff that you enjoy when you should be working. No,
there you go.
You can enjoy it while you're working too. But no, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And like I said, you always have to be on your toes. You always got to find the next thing. You got to try to figure out what's next. I'll just say that.
Well, the answer is King of the Hill. I mean, that was always the answer for so many questions. And
goodness.
I have not seen the new King of Hill. I want to. I've heard some people talk about it.
Are we going there now? You want to go there now?
Yeah. Let's just lead with the biggest story. King of the Hill reboot. And
this is the big story. So
yeah, from what I heard though, the premise of the time skip was so outlandish, but I think it was probably the best way that and it's not really that this was spoiled long ago. Essentially, they found a way to take Hank Hill out of America for like 20 years or however long the show's been off the air for. 15 years, and then they were able to bring Hank Hill back to the United States, rejoin everyone, and get just plopped right back down. So now it's Hank Hill not having any knowledge of how culture has evolved since the show has been canceled and since renewed, and it's now Hank Hill reacting to modern culture. And I think the premise was kind of whatever, but the outcome seemed to work well.
It works really well. I'll say this, no spoilers. The King of the Hill revival is the best television revival ever made. bar none. I've watched all the episodes. I don't think this is just my opinion. I think if you listen to professionals, to amateurs, to fans, to naysayers, everyone seems to be very happy with this. It's relevant, and it works for a couple of reasons. One, it sticks to its guns. It's Mike Judge returning once again, but he did exactly this with Beavis and Butthead. He aged the characters up when necessary as well, and say how would these offensive characters fit in the modern culture. But when Beavis and Butthead was renewed, it was during let's just say peak woke season, and so they were a very big antidote to that sort of thing. We now have Hank Hill, who was never offensive. Quite the opposite. He was always sort of a heroic, like staunch, like Midwestern Texas conservative that was very kind-hearted, that was just living his life in a normal Texas small town. And that's exactly what it is still. It has not changed an iota. It has not changed even a bit. The premise is that you said they took Hank out of America. He and Peggy moved to Saudi Arabia, or as Peggy likes to pronounce it, Saudi Arabia. Yeah. And so, no, they were there at a particular base that was set up to look like classic Americana. Hank's dream. He comes back and he's now dealing with how America has changed, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. And Bobby, of course, is the other main character. He's aged up. He's 21. He owns a restaurant. It's a fusion of German and Japanese cuisine. It's silly.
You can imagine the Cotton Hill references are
Cotton features in the show, even though he's dead. Cotton features in the show quite a bit. And I'll say this though, one more big spoiler is that you discover throughout the season that Bobby very much is Hank's son, and Bobby is not stupid. He's very successful, and that's very brave. Usually, when you have revivals like this, be it major motion pictures or television, usually there's sort of like a struggle session classic characters have to go through. They have to experience pain and suffering. They have to go through humiliation rituals, and that's just not the case here. This show is very kind-hearted. It's very, very much King of the Hill as you remember, and it feels really fresh, even though it's just the same show that started almost 30 years ago. King of the Hill started in 1997. That's the same year that South Park started. And just look at the news in the last week for both King of the Hill and South Park on their new season. Like, they couldn't be any more different, and they're both going strong.
Yeah, the goal, the message, the kind of the one being satire. Well, I guess both are very much satire.
Yes.
But yeah, King of the Hill definitely always had more heart than South Park. Not to say that South Park was completely heartless, but yeah, different audiences, different methods of going about it. But it's good though to see that King of the Hill, the reboots revival is going well, and I after so many other series, like you've mentioned before, the reboot, the revival just doesn't hit right, doesn't work right. It's good to see one that finally does it right,
I would say a close second would probably be Futurama. I think some people may feel the show has exhausted its gimmick, and that might be true. But King of the Hill feels fresh simply because they allowed the characters to age. They allowed the characters to grow a little bit. Yeah. And my only complaint, and I think this is a major complaint, is one or two of the main cast has been recast, their vocal performances. One, because, the actor's dead.
Yeah.
I guess pretty soon there's going to be another one because another actor died. And then there's another actor who also died. So who knows? But one major character was changed for, cultural sensitivity reasons. I won't spoil it, but you probably know who it is. But other than that, though, the show is wonderful. It's great. Mike Judge is on his game. He knows what he's doing. Welcome back. It feels necessary, and it feels neat. It feels cool to have these characters back right now, and that's cool. Yep. That's a very good show. King of the Hill. Yep.
So we're going to start with the high point, the positive part, and then we get into the news. Just general tech news and stuff like that, which could be a bit of a low point depending on how you feel about it. Nathan, you sent over a couple stories. I sent over a couple. Where would you like to start in all of this?
Let's just do the obvious one about Hulu, since we just talked about King of the Hill, which we should have mentioned is on Hulu. Sure. Which means it's also on Disney Plus, and pretty soon it'll just be Disney Plus because Hulu, the standalone version, is going away. This is not news, so to speak, but they've made it official.
The only surprise is how long it took because, between, I guess, the acquisition of Fox, 10 plus years ago, however long that's been, and then they, of course, bought out, like, I think CBS owned a portion of it. Like, everyone owned, like, Hulu was this weird kumbaya moment for all these different streaming services and platforms and content providers, where it was like 30%, 30%, 30%, 10% at one point, and it may have been, a little bit different. And then Disney, like Pac-Man, just gobbled up all the different shares.
Wait a minute. How you are not 70 years old? You cannot be making a Pac-Man reference to gobble. Okay.
Look, Pac-Man just had
Katamari. Okay.
Katamari, and actually, Pac-Man had Secret Level. Yes, so it's even more relevant. The kids love Secret Level in the Pac-Man episode in particular. The children love it.
They made a whole game based on that episode.
Really?
It came out like 2 weeks ago. Let me get. I'll find it.
I thought you were going to do like a reverse joke of like, they made a game about it. It's called Pac-Man, and I thought you were just going to hit me with that. Like, no, you're talking about the Secret Level and the whole universe they try to build around it.
Here it is, Shadow.
I will Google it. Shadow
I'm not
Lab.
joking. It is a full game based on that episode of Secret Level, like where the very much like very dystopian Pac-Man.
Does AI slop know no bounds?
No, this is a real game. Apparently, it's pretty good. I haven't played it yet, but it's, if you know what a Metroidvania is, side-scrolling kind of thing. Yeah. But no, it's real. Yeah, real thing. Well, it actually happened.
Did not know. Well, there you go. Either way, Pac-Man gobbled up market share. Honestly, the writing was on the wall ever since you could access the entirety of Hulu through the Disney Plus app. Like, they were already kind of not testing; they were like starting to ease people into it.
It was like an inception, because Hulu, like the brand, would be inside Disney Plus, but I didn't know this either. But not all the Hulu stuff would be inside Disney Plus, just like a helping of it. And now they're going to fully integrate it. To be honest with you, I've kept them separate too. I'm not the biggest fan of Disney Plus, the content, so to speak. But I'm much more a Hulu person. I like, it's just more my style. But it'll be interesting to see, because some of the Hulu content is way better. Like, let's be honest, Hulu, the stuff that's coming on Hulu from the networks is way better than a lot of the slop coming on Disney Plus and even Netflix. Shows like The Bear, things like that. Yeah. And these are mature shows, and it's so funny when you see like parents. Can you imagine their kids flipping through Disney Plus and just seeing like some of the stuff that's like very close to pornography, like right next to like Dora the Explorer, and it's just. I think it's cool. There's you have parental locks for a reason. Just learn how to use your settings.
There's already very clear, especially for Disney. I think Disney has one of the best of all the different streaming services, child accounts, essentially, for the streaming services that parents can set up.
I was joking with a friend the other day. It's just like, at some point, Disney will just end up buying everything. They'll own everything. And
they're definitely up there with as far as the content goes. Disney, or that's why when Disney Plus first came out, we were like, it was Netflix until Disney comes out. Although I will say, Netflix was head and shoulders above everyone before Disney Plus, and they're still kind of head and shoulders above after.
Well, it's interesting. It's because they took way different approaches, right? We talked about this before, about all the streaming stuff. Now, my favorite streaming network is actually none of those. It's Paramount. But I have very different reasons. I'm a very different kind of person, right? But I get it. It's Netflix. It's Netflix, and it's Disney Plus. I get it. But what's funny is that everyone said that Disney Plus was going to be the biggest streaming service. Oh, they must, because they have everything. They have Star Wars. They have Marvel. They have Disney. They have the Fox. They have everything. But the one thing is, Netflix, they took a very different approach, and it was very successful. They said, you know what? We don't need any of that crap. We're going to make our own stuff, and we're going to have everything. You like serial killer documentaries? We got them. You like baking shows? We got 100 of them. You like crappy anime? Oh, you better believe it.
You know what they don't have? And this is a personal pet peeve of mine, because something about ever since I was younger and going to school, watching documentaries in class and falling asleep into the best sleep I've ever had. I love falling asleep to documentaries. Netflix has negative documentaries. They have awful documentaries. They have no documentaries.
No, I didn't say they had good stuff. I said they had stuff. Netflix used to have great documentaries. Like before they stretched
They
the
did.
definition of what can I say this? The word documentary does not mean what it used to mean. Used to mean you sat down a documentary, there was an educational component to that. Like I'm going to learn something. But now they have documentaries on like Miley Cyrus making a CD or making an album
So right
or
now,
something.
and this might be all algorithm. When you go to Netflix, at least in my algorithm, and you type documentary, the two that come up are Ancient Apocalypse, which is bunk, total bunk, entertaining bunk, but bunk, and then the other one is Cleopatra, equally bunk, also bunk, and neither of those, in my mind, should be labeled documentaries. They're filmed like documentaries, but
No, exactly. It's not quite. It's not like who's the guy who does all the PBS stuff? Burns. Is it Burns? Ken Burns. Ken Burns.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken Burns. Like you're not going to have a Ken Burns style documentary on that. Well, when they got Richard Attenborough. No, which one's alive? Is it Richard Attenborough or?
Attenborough does a lot of the nature documentaries.
The one who's still alive, right?
Yeah, it's Attenborough.
By the way, #1 AI voice. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah, a lot of really funny things with his voice. AI.
Very iconic. Very, very iconic British. Speaking,
I can't watch a documentary unless an older British man is telling me what to learn and describing things for me. But no, you're right. But they have everything. They have everything, and they've been very successful with their original programming, whereas I think Disney Plus has been less so with proven brands. And I think that's the problem, is that you have a parallel to the technology world with like Microsoft, for example. Microsoft has been a company that's been on an buying spree for quite a while. Like, oh, we can't have that, so we'll buy this. And Disney's like, oh, we'll buy this. We'll buy the Muppets. We'll buy Simpsons. We'll buy Fox. We'll buy Marvel. We'll buy everything. Whereas Netflix is like Stranger Things or K-pop Demon Hunters. And they just keep knocking it out of the park. Like they don't need like a billion hits. They got like a million solid hits, but they have like the biggest original hits. Like I don't think Disney Plus has ever made a huge blockbuster.
Netflix definitely still has that idea that you don't need to hit every time. You just need to swing 1,000 times, and sometimes you'll hit. So,
and they've become like, people look at Netflix now and they look at that with the same prestige that we probably looked at with HBO like 20 years ago.
So getting back to the story though, Hulu being folded into Disney Plus, although reading the article, things are still going to be complicated for people out there because within the streaming service, you're going to have Disney with the live TV package that's going to include more syndicated stuff, and if you read a little bit further, they're talking about spinning off ESPN, which was always like cable's last mainstay of keeping the whole thing profitable. Disney is going to be spinning off ESPN into its own standalone service soon with live sports. And then on top of that, Hulu, like I was starting to say, Hulu's not going anywhere. Hulu is staying embedded. You could buy just a Hulu subscription, even though they're integrated, and you will have access to only Hulu content within Disney Plus and not Disney Plus itself. Like, it's still complicated.
You know what's crazy about this whole thing? You watch this stuff, and you have to look at it with a smile because it's almost like a Monty Python skit. Because you realize that these companies have no clue what they're doing. Like with the naming, with the pricing, like the prices go up every month. The name changes every other month. The packages change every week. Like they are literally just making this stuff up in real time as it goes. Your contract means nothing. That thing you signed, that contract you signed, it doesn't mean anything because they're just going to change it next month.
And it's just going to increase by $2. Yeah.
And I feel bad because I feel like the product, which is the shows and the movies, are like children of abusive parents. It's like, don't blame the children. The children are fine. It's your parents. You got to learn to get along. Like HBO has an identity crisis. Like what the hell is it called today? Max, HBO Max Plus streaming, whatever. And poor little Hulu is just getting spending this weekend with mom and next weekend with dad. I just want to watch The Bear and King of the Hill. Like, please, just where can I watch these shows? But it's fun. I'm just saying. But congratulations, Ben. The streaming networks have reinvented cable.
Yeah. So, somehow we're going to land back on cable subscriptions, and it's going to cost you even more, which is the opposite of what streaming was supposed to be.
I'll say this little aside, and I'll move on. So, it's too late to talk about it. But Apple is updating iPads, and they're updating iPad. I think it's called iPad OS, where they're actually introducing some new features. And I actually watched the design video that Apple put out on that, and I had the biggest laugh. Like, it was the funniest thing. I haven't seen the Naked Gun movie yet, but this was the funniest thing I've seen all year. They had a designer with a straight face talking about the cursor. And he's like, we discovered that when you do this, people do this. And I said, it's a mouse. You didn't discover nothing. Like, you didn't just discover a mouse on the iPad.
I don't know. I feel like if you spent your entire career at Apple working on their newest, latest cutting stuff, you might not have seen a mouse for 10 years. Like, that might be a discovery.
They are talking about the windowed, and by the way, I have the beta. If you want to talk about it, I've used the beta on iPad, but it now has windows, resizable windows, and a toolbar like the Mac has, and a mouse. It actually has a cursor. And I said to myself, Apple is just reintroducing stuff they took out 10 years ago, and that's innovation. And that's what the streaming services are doing. Like, the whole point of these things was to have micro-targeted, granular programming. Like, you didn't need to buy a cable package to have 4 billion channels you could never watch. You could just have a package of shows that you could watch. But they've gone back to the cable thing, where you now have to have a cable package, basically, or streaming package. So they've rediscovered all the stuff they dumped 10 years ago like it's brand new.
Just wait until they come out and they're like, we have figured out a way to read data from the physical space, and they're going to bring back in CDs, and everyone's going to love it.
Hey, vinyl sells better than ever.
There you go. Yeah. Apple on vinyl. You heard it here first. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go off the Hulu Disney thing. So by 2026, by the way, if we didn't throw a date out there, early 2026, that whole wrap up should be. And we shall see. But at the same time, again, you're still going to have the two services be separate if you'd like. And I'm sure eventually there's going to be some $80 package where you will get Disney, Hulu, ESPN, and so many more all rolled together. So there you go.
I will say this, final thought. For the most part, the streaming networks, though, have kind of settled down a little bit, since they're not trying to, because have you noticed that since movie theaters have become profitable again, and people are going to see movies in theaters again, everybody thought the theatrical experience was left for dead during the pandemic. HBO was the biggest aggriever of that, because they were releasing all those theatrical movies day to date on the streamer. Remember, they got sued over it. But since streaming hasn't been as prestigious, let's just say, like when they're not Oscar baity like they used to, I would say like pretty much all of them have been producing quality stuff. Like, most of them have been producing like much better content, much better shows, much better movies, much better programs, whereas the theatrical experience has been getting better and people are going to the movies more. I think that's nature's healing. Like, I don't want to see a $300 million movie on Netflix. I want to see that on IMAX, not Netflix. You know what I mean?
It's hard to tell with timelines and what predates what and what does, because I'm sure that these these amazing movies that are going to theaters and the overall quality and content, it's hard to say did that start 2 years ago, did that start 1 year ago, kind of when did that happen. But yes, there is a general consolidation of streaming services. We just saw that with, was it Skydance and Paramount?
Yeah, I saw that.
And then of course Disney and whatever. There's definitely a consolidation instead of. Although I will say there was one new streaming service. I want to say it's AMC. Is bringing out their own streaming service. Anyways, not as many new streaming services entering the market, and in fact, the market consolidating and solidifying around more better content. Unless you look at Netflix.
And another thing, real quick, is also the proliferation of the quote unquote free streaming services, which have gotten way better.
Like Fubo and whatnot. And
like Tubi is a legitimately good channel, right? Amazon made their freebie totally freebie, right? Like, there are different versions of this, like where nature's healing, and I think that's a good sign. That's a good step forward. I just can't wait for them to come in and mess that up too.
Speaking of nature healing, and this one will be super quick. Well, I don't think we'll talk too much about this, but I thought this one was sad and funny at the same time. Robotaxis. Just real quick, just want to talk about Baidu. Not the biggest name here in America, but if you are outside of America, even in like Europe and whatnot, Baidu is a fairly large name when it comes to technology. And I thought this was, pretty funny with the Apollo Go robotaxi service fell into a deep construction pit while carrying a passenger in southwest China. So the female passenger was uninjured and was rescued by local residents using a ladder. But and this ties into another story that I didn't pick up. Today, Elon Musk announced that they're shutting down, or I don't know if Elon Musk did, but XAI announced that they're shutting down their Dojo, which is their supercomputer that they were developing that was supposed to help with the self-driving car initiative. Self-driving cars in general, not that they're not ready, because this is an example of a self-driving car out in the world doing self-driving car things. Some time still left to bake in the oven, but they're out there. But hey, it could be better.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to do a little devil's advocate on this story, because for anybody who doesn't know about China and I don't know what you'd call it. There's probably a Chinese word for it. I probably know what it is, but I probably forgot it because I forgot most of my Chinese. But I'll say this. When we think about Chinese construction, we can't think about it like American construction. Like, our infrastructure was pretty much built, like the culture we live in was kind of set in stone back in the 20s. Like, most of our major cities were constructed in the 20s. Most of our major suburbs were constructed in the 60s and 70s, right? We're kind of a baked pie. In China, they don't have that. China, they raise entire villages and literally will slap highways on them in no time. So they don't have the infrastructural integrity or history the way we do. So they don't have like maps to draw upon. Like, and you're talking about like cities that have millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people. Like, nostalgia is not a thing in China. People don't talk about, I grew up in this neighborhood. The neighborhood you grew up with does not exist. And so I saw this robot the other day from China. I forget what it was. And
the humanoid one, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And every time, and you want to talk about funny. Like, whenever you show robot, when Musk shows his Optimus up or Boston Dynamics or whatever show the Robo Dog, they always show it doing like jumping jacks or whatever.
Handstands.
In China, man, they are having their robots box and play soccer or football. And they had this one robot running down the hill, and I'll be damned if the thing wasn't dressed like Adam Sandler. And it's just like, that's hilarious. Like, they are skipping all the shock and awe, like, oh my goodness, a robot. And they are going right for the sports. They are going right for the dancing. They are going right for the boxing. Like, that's insane to me.
No, so, there was a new, like you said, bot from a Chinese company. It completely escapes me.
You saw it, right? Crazy
just like yesterday, and they said they were selling it for like $5,500 or $5,900 US. Which, when you consider what it is, and they're trying to sell it as like a research tool and for, universities and whatnot to be able to pick it up and start using it. But even so, $5,900 for something that even like before that, like, yeah, you could have Boston Dynamics sell you a humanoid robot, but it would be like $150,000. And China's able to do it for $5,000.
Because what Musk was, I don't know if he was on ketamine or whatever, but Musk was talking about selling Optimus robots for like $3,000. It's like, no, you're not even close. Mm-hmm. But then he does something crazy where he showed the Tesla diner, the cafe. Did you see that? Where it's all automated with the robots, and it's.
I saw that the burgers weren't that good. That's all I saw about them.
I was going to say, like, I'm old enough to remember back in the '80s when when every major movie needed a robot buddy. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching Rocky. I think it was Rocky 4, and the buddy, whatever, and he gets a robotic friend, and I'm just like, we are not at that point. I don't want a robot friend. I don't even want a Roomba, to be honest with you. And frankly, that's what the first generation of slave bots are going to be. They're basically going to be walking Roombas. You know this. They're going to do like rudimentary tasks. Yeah, there you go, Rocky 4. And they insinuated he was having sex with it. Like, come on, people. Like, really?
I don't doubt it. That's a good-looking robot.
I think Sylvester Stallone recut the movie a couple years ago. He re-edited Rocky 4 and he took the robot out. Oh. But what I'm saying though, but I'm glad the woman's not hurt on the Baidu thing. But but I would caution anybody right now listening to this show. Baidu is a name you should know. Like, there's a handful of Chinese companies that are not going anywhere. They are gigantic, and Baidu is one. It's one of the biggest ones. Yeah, They are huge.
Yeah, there and Xiaomi, Baidu. There's probably half a dozen more. They are fully ingrained, and like the U.S. market is very insulated from this, but you're seeing Europe now having to,
Well,
yeah,
can I say this real quick?
and it's really tough. Yeah,
I will say this final thought on this. This is very important for people who don't know. America used to be a little jingoistic, whereas we didn't like foreign-sounding things, and so foreign companies would come over and they changed their name. And for a very long time, a lot of Japanese companies changed their names, like RCA is a Japanese company, stuff like that. And there's a whole bunch, Magnavox, Panasonic. But as those companies became more and more, eventually certain Japanese brands became synonymous with the Japanese name, like Sony, or Toyota or Nissan. That's going to happen with China. And the problem is Americans had trouble. Sometimes they struggle to pronounce Chinese. You know this, right? But there's going to be more and more Chinese companies that it's going to happen. You have things like TCL, you have AMD, you have a few other things that are American names. But eventually you're going to have a Baidu. I think right now the biggest Chinese company is Temu. Like Temu, everyone knows Temu, right? Yeah. So it's like, I'm just wondering what the next ones are going to be like. It's going to be interesting to see that happen. Like what companies are really going to hit.
Yeah, the markets are, the Chinese market and the American market are fundamentally different, but they are very similar in that they both love technology and they're very consumeristic, both of them. So, they're developing in not in tandem, in parallel, but eventually they will mix.
They're not quite adversarial. They're not quite symbiotic. There's something there, like you said, they're parallel development that right now that complements each other, but it does not necessarily compete. Like American companies cannot compete in China for certain things, and Chinese companies don't even bother having a footprint. But when they do, like TikTok, as you saw, it becomes a national crisis. So let's see what happens. This is going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. So there you go. I thought that was just a quick fun story.
Always fun, yeah.
Fun because we're not in the car that's in the ditch. So
yeah, we didn't hit the ditch. We didn't fall over the ditch. So, but
absolutely.
I hope she's okay.
Let's see, real quick. I have this story. I don't know how long we want to spend on it. Meta has new AI goggles, and they almost look like someone's making a joke about how obtuse and awful can we make the headset look. If you're watching the video portion, you can see it up there. And, where I think people out there may remember the Apple virtual reality goggles where, they cost like 3 times as much as anyone else, but they were like almost skier goggles.
Yeah, I don't know about this. The very first story I ever talked with you guys on Computer America about was about Google goggles. Did you know that?
Google Glass? Maybe?
Google Glass, one of the Google things, like the very first version of them. A different co-host, shall I say, on this show, and I said the same thing then. I say now, these things are not mainstream, and they're not mainstream because they look stupid. Like you cannot have a stupid-looking thing. Like it needs to be either unobtrusive. It can't look too cool. That's the thing. Like Ray-Ban sunglasses have come the closest because they're Ray-Bans. They look good.
I think it was Snap that partnered with Ray-Ban to make
Snap glasses look dumb. Have you seen them? They're like Buddy Holly glasses. You can't have that.
but they tried to make them look cool. So you said they can't be too cool. I think they hit the nail on the head, but they tried to make them look cool.
But you can't be too cool. That's the thing. You can't stick out because then you go to the other end of it. Like you're too awesome. You're too sexy. You're too hip. Can't have that. But you also can't be too dorky. You got to have just the right balance in them. Like regular glasses. Regular glasses are, if you go to any type of optician or whatever, then they're all style. Like Ralph Lauren, different brands make the glasses. Like they're stylish. That's what they're trying to do with these things. It's not working.
So this one, and again, this is from Meta. This is the new prototype. They say it's the future of VR, which we can talk about the future of VR real quick. But I will say just some technical details out there for everyone. It said that this provides hyper-realistic VR, or so they claim. This is, just kind of a preview of its latest prototype, so it's not even consumer-ready. But they're saying it's called tiramisu because it looks like you're wearing a whole tiramisu on your face. It has 3 times contrast to previous models, 14 times the maximum brightness, and 3.6 times the angular resolution of Meta Quest 3. So it has 1400 nits of brightness and an angular resolution of 90 pixels per degree. So curved things that are supposed to look curved, it's supposed to more naturally mimic your actual vision. Your eyeballs are going to adjust to it much better. And like they said, they're going for hyper realistic VR in these things.
Okay. First of all, no. First of all, that they need to get some normal glasses because that thing doesn't look a damn thing like a tiramisu. I'll tell you right now, that thing looks like a chunk of charcoal that they excavated from a ditch. A tiramisu looks sexy, fluffy, delicious, brown. This thing is black. This thing is a giant piece of plastic strapped to this poor guy's head. That is not a tiramisu.
It does not look ergonomic. And when you think of a brick hanging off the front of your face, this thing's like bigger than brick. It's very big. I think is the thing you kind of come away from the first image of it.
It looks like a camera that people would use in like 1906, just strapped to the guy's face.
It does look like the viewfinder that you see, like, so you can see like the Statue of Liberty. It's like that, but just on your face.
I tell you this, I think VR has its place. And I've said, this is the second thing I've talked about on this show for years and years. I am not anti-VR, but they keep insisting that VR replace certain things that people are happy with now, right? Sort of 3D, like 3D technology in movies, 3D technology in home televisions. It's going to replace it. But the problem is this: the moment you strap something onto your face, you are taken out of the real world. And you cannot have that. You cannot have a technology that takes you out of the world. Star Trek got this stuff right 40 years ago. People don't want this. They want a hologram room. They want a holodeck. They want something that they can interact with other people with without having to do this. Do you know what the most popular 3D device of all time was? Of all time, by a factor of 100? It was Nintendo's 3DS portable, right? Sure. It was the very first consumer electronic that had 3D technology without obstruction. You literally just looked at the device. And you know what? Even people got tired of that. They took the 3D out.
All it cost was like 20 million kids' eyeballs. Like it was a very good success.
The problem, and that's the other problem though, is that when people say, well, the studies don't indicate, well, that means there are studies that say it's bad. We don't know what the effects, not just the visual effects. We don't know the cognitive. We don't know the psychological. We don't know the internal effects that someone looking in this sort of recreated spatial reality is going to have on the brain. We do know, like, for example, like I know we're going to talk about ChatGPT and all this. Mm-hmm. Studies have already started coming out about the neurological effects that sort of non-invasive technology has. But when you strap two light bulbs to your face and you are taken out of the real world, there are some deep-seated trauma that can be caused. Not just dizziness, but actually like remapping of the way your brain sees the world, and it's just not healthy. So I think in short spurts, what was it? I saw this technology where doctors were starting to use a type of VR to do like long distance surgery. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I like that. That's pretty cool. But going and playing a first person shooter for 30 hours, not really. I mean, if you think about it, it's the same thing. But
there's going to come out a best use case for these things, and there's like, even just with computers, there's a rise in monitor usage and computer usage through the 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, whatever, and the rate at which kids developed nearsightedness, and the two are intricately linked.
You will have optometrists and ophthalmologists tell you with a straight face there is no evidence for that. Bull crap. There's all the evidence. Your business is booming because of it. But I don't know, man. I'm not a Luddite, okay? I think the technology has its place. I think it's very cool. But I think not until the nerds cede control over the optics of it, like, and make a cool looking VR headset, like people would put up with a VR headset that doesn't really work that well if it didn't make them look like a fool. Yeah. Like, optics has to be better. I don't understand why they don't get this.
And even this article, you can see here, this is what, actually, this is the Boba 3, so they're actually going kind of Apple with their other prototype. I thought that was Apple. That's actually the Boba 3, which is also Meta, and their other ultra-wide version of it.
This is first of all, tiramisu and now boba, someone went and had Chinese lunch, and they said, I got an idea. That's what happened. You know what's going to happen next? The wonton. That's what that's what the next version is going to be. They're just naming this stuff after food.
The Rangoon. It's going to be all the rage. It's going to be great.
That's what's going to happen. You heard it here first.
Yep. So there you go. So we're going to go ahead and skip on because we're running a little tight on time, and I wanted to talk about these other ones real quick. Real quick, I think we can talk about sale numbers. Should be pretty simple. Nintendo Switch 2. Not really too much to it. This may shock you. Great console, sells great, and with great predecessor comes great follow up.
Actually, never in Nintendo's history has this happened. This is actually a first for them.
A follow-up? Because is it kind of like the Windows thing where it's like, Windows 7, great. Windows 8, awful. Windows 8.1, great. Windows 10, bad.
I could literally give you a TED Talk on this, right? But instead I'm going to abbreviate this stuff to a really quick TikTok video. Instead of TED Talk, TikTok. There we go. Coin that phrase. No, basically, Nintendo has had this weird relationship with success. They are a company that does not do iterations. This is the first console they've ever had that had a 2 after it, right? Everything they've ever had since the very beginning has had weird, wacky designs, weird, wacky names. The Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo. Then you had Nintendo 64, then you had GameCube, then you had Wii, then you had Wii U, right? Then you had Switch. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One. It's all numbers, right?
I mean, to be fair, there's PlayStation Portable and PlayStation Vita in there somewhere.
Yeah, but they have, but both failures, by the way, except for, PSP is not a failure, but you get it. And so what Nintendo did, they decided not to call this the Super Switch. Boo! I think they should have called it the Super Switch. They called it the Switch 2. But here's the thing. The best-selling Nintendo home console of all time was the Switch. Sold 130 million units, right? Second best, the Nintendo Wii. The Wii sold over 120 million. The Wii U, its successor, sold 13 million.
Yeah.
Gigantic, devastating drop off, right? So they played it safe. They made a console that is basically just a better version of the previous one. And can I tell you something? I love it. Like, I didn't play the Switch one last time we talked. Herman was testing it.
Yeah.
And I've actually spent a couple weeks with it now. And I got to tell you something. I'm completely converted. I love it. Like, I get it. I get why people love it. It's stable. It does not rock the boat, but it's still open enough. You can have some of that wacky Nintendo stuff. Like I've been playing Cyberpunk 20. I never played Cyberpunk on all the other consoles. I never had time for it. I'm actually playing Cyberpunk 2077 for the first time. Street Fighter 6, which I've been playing on the PC, not the Switch. And of course, Donkey Kong Bonanza, which for a lot of people is their best game of the year. And I wouldn't argue with that. Like, I get what Nintendo did. They played it safe, but they're still focusing on the games. And that's why I think the success. I will say one thing, though. The attach rate is that 90-something% of people are just getting the Mario Kart bundle. And that jives with what I've seen in the real world. I've seen a lot of regular Switch 2 consoles sitting there. I was at Walmart yesterday. I saw 3, just regular Switch. People want the Mario Kart bundle. They very much want the Mario Kart bundle. So there you go. And you know what's funny?
Yeah.
The price of the old Switch, when the Switch 1 came out, when the Switch came out in 2017, it was $300. As of next week, it will be more. It will be like $330.
I'm hoping that's tied because they are upgrading the internal hardware. They can't be selling it with the same hardware.
No, it's the same thing. And I don't think it's tariffs because, again, the Switch 2 is not going to be more expensive. I don't know why they're doing it. I do know this though: the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 will coexist very nicely together for a couple of years, the same way the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 coexisted. They're backwards compatible. So kudos to Nintendo and Sony for finding a good balance. But yeah, the Switch 2, I'm a fan. Would I run out and grab one right now if I didn't have it? No, but I'm really glad I do. But it's a very good console.
There you go.
Very fond of it.
Always good to see Nintendo, succeeding for the right reasons. So there you go. Okay, so the last, these last like 6-7 minutes, actually a little bit less than that, but we'll go ahead and talk about this real quick. I have these 2 stories about AI. Let's just talk about GPT-5 that was released just recently, just yesterday, I believe. It was available for actually everyone. I thought it was just for select insiders, but they actually released it to the masses. And then, of course, they're also trying a very aggressive monetization scheme for
I saw that.
for much larger organizations. So individuals who are still using it to pump Spotify full of garbage, you're safe for now.
Mhm.
But
Well, wasn't the rumor that Apple was going to use it as the base model for
yes.
their? Yes. So
Um,
is that still
the
happening?
ChatGPT-5 is, I think, with like an update like next week, you'll be able to load it natively through to like every device and have it be like the default AI for everything.
And
Yeah,
can I be honest?
and like the government's going to use it, Apple's going to use it. Really, and we were talking about before the show. You mentioned a statistic that ChatGPT is by far the most
Not even
popular
close.
AI
Like
model out there.
they are basically Google. Like that is their market share is higher than the ratio of like Google to Bing. It's like 90%. And I'll say this: I'm working on a project which you and I have talked about,
Hmm.
and we were considering adding AI summaries to our projects. It's a good way to use the power of AI without needing it, right?
Right.
And we were comparing the different models of it: ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot,
Yeah.
Perplexity. I forget the other one, Kagka or whatever. And I got to tell you, what's funny about it is that only ChatGPT was very hesitant to do summaries on copyright material, and because I think all the attention, being who they are, like I don't know if you saw this, but I didn't put this on the list. But movies are now coming with a disclaimer in their credits that say this film cannot be used to train AI models in TV shows. And I think the word ChatGPT has become synonymous with AI the same way Google was synonymous with search, right?
Yep.
But there are other ones out there. I know you're a big fan of Gemini, and a lot of people are too. But I think they thought that Gemini would be more successful because it's piggybacking off Google, right? But that doesn't seem to be the case right now, which is really
Yeah.
weird to me. So
It's definitely too early to announce a winner, but there's definitely a leader for sure,
yes,
and that's
yes,
ChatGPT. And with 5 that was just released yesterday, they go from 4 to 5. Some people complain that it's not as revolutionary as 3.5 to 4,
doesn't need to be though.
and well, I love the new group of people, or maybe it's the same outrage as always. This may surprise people. The tech industry over-promising, overselling, and under-delivering.
What?
I know it never happens in tech.
No, they
Technology
deliver.
is always as good as they claim it to be. But yeah, it's not going to completely overhaul entire industries like they said it would. But this is a pretty good upgrade from previous models. And some of what I've seen, like just yesterday I was watching a gentleman make a game using ChatGPT 5 with no coding
Yeah.
experience. He made an early Doom like game just by saying, hey, add a pause screen, add a kill counter, add these sprites, add this, add that, and it made a game from scratch in like 2 hours. I was very
I will say
impressed.
that I will say this. You saw that story last week or a week or so ago. It was the female like gossip app called T. How it was quote unquote
uh
hacked and all the. It
Oh,
was a woman only app.
the T app, yeah,
Yeah,
the red flag,
the red flag.
yeah,
Well, it
kind of
was
thing, yeah.
women only. They had to upload their driver's license to do verify. By the way, we don't have enough time to get into that kerfuffle, but next time. But what happened is, it turns out the whole app was vibe coded with AI. A guy who went to like one seminar on programming, and he just created this gigantic app with it was vibe coded. It wasn't made by people, and there were security loopholes like you couldn't believe. It's it's not going to replace it, but I agree with you though. I think if AI is going to be successful the way they want it to be, I don't need revolutionary. I think that's happened. I think it needs to be evolutionary.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be safer and it needs to be more secure. Like it's going to be here. It's not going anywhere. So get used to it, but it needs to be better. So
Yeah, it's getting better. There's still room for improvement, but whenever ChatGPT comes out with a new version, I think everyone else has to sit up, take notice, and say, okay, what does it do? Because we are instantly going to have to, we are going to be compared to that, and are we as good? So there you go. And one more article that we're not even going to talk about because we have something else that we want to talk about.
Yeah, a little bit.
Saying that the AI summaries for Google searches is not pulling traffic away from sites, and I think we're both in an industry where a Google search concerning a click it becomes very obvious. My phone needs to stop thinking I'm talking about it.
Exactly.
Or talking to it. Nathan, let's just say that the internet as we know it is getting overhauled just because of the way that AI and Google searches are happening.
I'll say this. Google's entire business model is about generative links to either sponsored content, people that pay them, or links outward. The AI summaries do not have links. So if they're telling me it's not taking away from links, that means it's siphoning off information from the sites without backlinking it.
They're saying that it more searches means more clicks, means more people, and they're trying to drive people to it. But at the same time, third-party researchers are saying that there's a less than 1% click rate on the sources of the AI generated stuff.
There's no links half the time. Like they amalgamate the content, but they don't outward link to it.
Yep.
It's sort of what about 10 years ago, what companies like Huffington Post used to do, where they would summarize another website with a paywall, and they would basically regurgitate the story, and their results would oversee the original content. So they would get the traffic, and the actual content provider would get nothing. That's kind of what this is like.
It's really, really, really bad for short-term gain and long-term health of the internet. But like I said, we just don't have time to talk about that.
Yeah,
Speaking
exactly.
of long-term health of the internet, you know what the internet really needs to stand on strong foundations? That's good websites with good, good foundations. Let's just say that. So with that being said, Nathan, we are about to wrap up the show because I have a hard deadline here, but I wanted to, I think you wanted to maybe, start the process of starting to maybe allude to a tease for things to come.
Yes.
So let's talk about that real quick.
Well, as you know, I am the managing editor of a website called Popzara. We have a colorful dinosaur mascot. Thank you. I've been doing it a very long time. And all websites go through changes. Like Computer America just went through a massive change, by the way, very successful.
Yeah.
You and your wife, by the way, congratulations, looks wonderful. And some of us get a little jelly on the background, but at a certain point, you have to look at where real change is. And I'll just say this: I'm not ready to announce anything yet, but the Popzara website will be undergoing a massive change here soon. And I promise you probably don't know what that means. Well, you do. But everyone else, you have to wait on your tippy toes. But it will be worth it. It will be good. It is a necessary change. And I think, I'm excited to finally share it when it's ready to go.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And hey, we're definitely going to, when it finally comes out, we'll talk about the lovely, fun topic of web development and what it means to develop a website in the modern day. Because not just you or I have websites. Really, so many businesses, and what goes into developing websites. And hey, I at this point, I've heard about it now for a couple months here behind the show. I'm looking forward to it. I am so excited. But ladies and gentlemen, real quick, Nathan, the music in the background that you totally can't hear means that we have to kind of end the show. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want to hear more or see more about anything that we talked about today, computeramerica.com, show notes, and everything will be right there. And of course, popzara.com as always for everything else. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone else, thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time here on Computer America. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Do something fun. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.